Good evening and welcome to this week's edition of CopaLoadofRacing. We're going to look at the couple of races from Kempton tomorrow and also the Eider chase at Newcastle. It's been an interesting week, it has to be said, with regards to ARC racing. A few trainers like Sir Lucinda Russell and Mark Johnson have been pretty vocal about the prize money that ARC have been putting up at some of their racecourses. They took the decision, according to themselves, that because of the stake money being lowered in FOBTs and bookmakers saying they're not going to be making a lot of money now. Well, not going to be making a lot of money in that respect, i.e. not going to be putting as much into racing. Really, I think it's a lame excuse by these by ARC. I think it's pretty dreadful, the prize money that they're putting up at some of their tracks. Lingfield was brought into question. They've got a big meeting tomorrow, of course, with the Winter Derby, and some of the field sizes aren't magnificent, but Lucinda Russell had mentioned on Twitter earlier this week about the prize money at Sedgefield, saying it wasn't worth the bother sending any horses down there because by the time you put the money into the fuel into the horse box to take them down there, it really is a massive ask, and it does question us how we go forward with regards to it, because it's an industry that needs owners, needs trainers. Training a racehorse isn't getting any cheaper, so for owners who have horses that are at the lower end of the scale, for many of them they're small time owners who maybe only have one or two horses, or syndicates that have one horse. Racing for that prize money, it really isn't worth it. And if you were in any industry, if you were working in an industry and you've seen your pay level just decrease over the years, you would just shift out of that industry and go and find a career in another walk of life. And that's what owners may do. They may say, right, I still love my racing, I'll still go to my racing, but I'm not going to invest in actually owning a racehorse anymore, because it's just not cost effective, and that will have the knock-on effect for a lot of trainers, particularly the smaller trainers or middle-sized yards who rely on these smaller owners. So you can start to see that happening. And what's the answer? Well, I think it's more about racecourses looking at them, the way that they pull in a crowd, what they do for that crowd, how they make that money. It's not all about bookmakers and taking the money in that way. Betting is obviously a massive part of racing, of course it is, but really I think that aspect has to be looked at, as to draw that money in, and if you put up good prize money, you attract better horses, you attract big field races. That pulls in the punters who see competitive racing and want to come along and watch it. If they think this racecourse is making an effort to do not just the benefit of racing for those that own racehorses or train them, but also for the punter, the racing fan, to come along and watch it because they have faith that this racecourse is doing what it can for the industry. So it's a lot to think about for ARC, that's for sure. Right, last week I had mentioned about my anti-post bets for both Cheltenham and the Grand National. Cheltenham's relegate, remember, on the Albert Bartlett. I think that price is shortening up as we speak. And for the Gold Cup Bells Hill, I think it's now about 10-1 Bells Hill. The more I'm looking at it, the more confident I'm thinking Bells Hill will run really, really well, particularly out of all the Mullins horses that entered for the race. I think he has the best chance in that one. With regards to the Grand National, I'd said Rathvinden, just Tiger Roll, who I put up last year. I'll just reiterate, I think the handicapper has given him a really good chance, and I expect a big run from Tiger Roll in April, and would not be surprised if it managed to do back-to-back wins, which would be superb. But Rathvinden, who had also mentioned another Willie Mullins horse in relation to the Cheltenham anti-post tips that I've given. Rathvinden's due to run tomorrow at Fairyhouse in the Bobby Joe Chase. Decent price at the moment. He has been off for about 10 months since finishing 4th to the Storyteller, was it, at the back end of last season, so it'll be interesting to see how he's come on from that, but he's obviously now been prepped for some of his bigger assignments at the end of the season. And Yala Enki ran reasonably well at Haydock last week, but that's one for if the ground is soft, remember. That's the way I would be looking at that horse. Right, moving on to tomorrow's racing, we have Kempton's Cardial Racing post-chase card. We'll come on to that race in a moment, but looking at the 225 and the Adonis at Kempton, the horse I'm going to pick out is a first-time hurdler. In fact, it's from the bang-in form Paul Nicholls stable. Alex Ferguson has a part ownership in this horse. Red Force 1 we're looking at. As I say, no Feelies on board, who I'm always very keen on novices. A great horseman. And this horse ran at Kempton on the flat just over a week ago. Finished second in that race, so it's well prepped and sharp enough for this race. Must be thought of well to be thrown in at the deep end here by Paul Nicholls. Connections all have the right, all ticks the boxes in respect of a horse of this lack of experience coming in at this level. It's a former flat horse. It's not as if it's completely new to horse racing. It's ran on the flat, but been bought here to now have take up assignments in national hunt racing. And as I say, I think it could really run well at a price around about 8 to 1. So yeah, Red Force 1 for me in that one. The 335 is that big handicap. Down the years we've seen pretty decent sized fields for this race. Now it's called the 888.com handicap chase, I think it is now, and it's off at 335. Two horses I'll pick out. Talk is cheap for Alan King and Wayne Hutchison. This finished second over course and distance last time out. Prior to that, away back at Newbury, it finished behind the very impressive mare La Bagawa, how you pronounce it, who of course is one of the hot tips going into Cheltenham. So it has good form in the book due to that, and I think could run really well, stepping up a bit in trip and going into handicap company here. So talk is cheap for Alan King and Wayne Hutchison. Another one that I think could run really well, it likes Kempton, ran in the King George actually, and has run really well in that race a few times. Finished 5th this season. Prior to that, it finished second to Might Bite, if you remember, and that's double shuffle. I think it's carrying top weight here, but I think it really enjoys Kempton, brings out the best in it, and as I say, this is a lesser assignment for it. So I think it could run well at a decent price, around about 12 to 1 double shuffle as an each way shot in that race. And moving up to Newcastle for their big stamina testing Eider chase. And as we've been saying for the past couple of months, the ground is unseasonably good for this time of year. So they're usually looking at this race, we'd be looking at a Venetia Williams horse or something like that likes a bit of the mud flying around, as if it's similar to a sort of day at Chepstow for the Welsh National. But because of the ground being so good, we have the 2-time Scottish Grand National winner Vicente in this race for Paul Nicholls, who we know is going really well. And it's running off the same mark as it did when it won the Scottish Grand National the last time. The ground will suit it. Had a good run at Taunton last time out, so well prepped for that, and I think Vicente could be the one. Well, it's well thought. I think it's going to be heavily backed on the day, even though this is a big field handicap. But Vicente has all the class to do the business there. Okay, so that's my thoughts on tomorrow's racing there. It's been a bit of a lean time of it betting wise, I must admit. It has been all over this national hunt season. A part of me cannot wait for the flat to come back, but we'll persist as you would imagine. You have to keep going, get through the tough times, not make any silly mistakes and any stupid bets. Just stick to your theories and hope that they'll come out wrong. I might be crying coming Cheltenham, but we shall see how that goes. I did say last week's blog that there was a meeting at Eider on the Monday of last week, but there's actually this Monday there's a race meeting at Eider. There's also racing upcoming at Kelso and a 2-day meeting at Musselburgh, so plenty of action to get stuck into. There's an extra day's fixture at Musselburgh coming up this week as well, so well worth taking a trip to if you can. Beyond that, next week we have, I think we're into the realms of, is it Kelso we're actually looking at next Saturday? We'll see. Then after that we're into Sandown, and then of course it is Cheltenham. Still working on how we're going to preview Cheltenham. I'll actually not be in the country for the Cheltenham Festival, but I will try and look at getting you some sort of preview up on the vlog prior to that. Maybe we'll look at over that weekend, maybe the Sunday into Monday of the festival. Well, I've got that to think about, and I'll let you know probably next week or the week after how that's going to work out. But for the moment, that will be it for now. See you next week. Hope your bets all come good. I hope things do anyway. If you're following them, let's hope so. But yep, that's it for now. I'll see you next week, as I say. CopaLoadofRacing.